Welcome everyone to Wind Wheel and Print. I'm your co-host Kevin.
And I'm your co-host Ryan.
And we're here today hosting a special episode of Letterboxd Top 250 Shuffle.
Yes, our favorites, our heart category, our
Heart category.
something that's just, it's so fun to dive into these.
Yeah.
And just steep yourself in
Cinema.
Yeah. I mean, in just like the best
Yeah.
stuff. You just leave watching these.
Yeah.
Oh, with just a newfound respect or just look at things.
It truly, like, I don't know, this is kind of a tangent, but after I watch these movies, it somehow like makes me appreciate other movies more, and also makes me not appreciate or like feel more like dismissive of other movies at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like I just feel like I can see more imbued in other films.
Yeah.
Like more meaning and stuff, and also I can see how futile and pointless like some movies are at the same time. Like, especially movies released today. Like, I feel less and less inclined to like watch newer movies because of like this program for me. Like, it's just like film can be so much, you know, like to aspire for, to try to achieve. Like, why should I even spend time like entertaining this other sort of film? Anyways.
I completely agree, because there's two aspects of this. One is that it's always fun to be reminded, like, oh my god, there's so many movies I have not seen that will soon be my favorite movies.
Right.
That's a really cool thing. There's so many movies that have been made that are so great, unbelievably great, and we still feel the need to watch. I mean, like, I hate to be like, let's stop making movies. We've made so many good movies.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing? Like, we should
definitely keep making
there's
movies.
definitely a focus on like not really looking back and always looking forward.
Right.
And so this is a great exercise in that. And also to watch these, it's the way I feel about, we live in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area, and we have
one and only.
Yes, we have public transit here, the BART, for example, which is the Bay Area Rapid Transit. It's basically like a little train that goes around. And for those of you that don't know, but when I went to Paris, I saw their public transit. I'm like, this is so good.
Yeah.
And it just made me be like, do the people in San Francisco know that this exists?
Yeah, no.
Like, and then you go to London, and that's maybe slightly worse than Paris, but it's still like,
10
oh my
times
god.
better. Yeah.
And I get that sometimes watching these movies is like, have they not seen these movies?
Yeah. No.
There's some really good, there's movies out here that you should be watching. They're great. They're so good. And they have, like, as we create the filmmaking Bible.
Yeah.
For the
writing
religion.
the scripture.
Yeah, exactly. As we're writing the scripture and finding out, Kevin did a great job already of putting some points down of like what makes a top 250.
Yeah.
And I think that's also just what makes a movie, what makes like cinema and really important works of art. And this is just a great, I mean, just like you see it every time.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like it's ways to go beyond the 250. I feel like these are aspects of like universal stories that like,
maybe that's what it is. Yeah.
You know, like that can hit all aspects of humanity because it's like, these are just things that everyone experiences in our life, you know? And that to me is what religion is, right? It is like passage of the rites of passage in terms of like your whole life, you know?
Yeah.
And like these different things should be seen as ceremonies
Yes.
or should be seen as like traditions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, we can get into that list later on. But
no, totally. Yes.
Yeah.
It's,
but I mean, that's what's so refreshing about these films is that like there is no other goal aside from like reaching humanity.
Yep.
You know, and it's just a reminder to like reflect on that. Yeah. Well, yeah, let's introduce the four films.
So part of me, like, I hate that this episode will be over.
Yeah,
at
I
a certain
know.
point. And that's part of me. I'm just like, let's just sit and in silence for a bit. What are we doing?
For sure. I mean, it deserves it.
It deserves it.
Yeah.
And I'm excited. We'll start with 1954's Sansho the Bailiff.
Yeah.
Japanese film directed by Kenji Mizoguchi.
Yeah.
Based on a 1915 short story of the same name. Follows two aristocratic children who are sold into slavery. That caught me off guard.
Yeah.
I'll say that. Because I try not to read what the
thing is about.
Before going in, which hurts and helps sometimes. Yeah. You watch Andrei Rublev, and I had to literally start reading the Wikipedia article after I would go through section. I was like, because it also felt like it required me to be much more present cognizant.
100%. Especially at the beginning, I was like, wait,
what's happening?
Did I miss something?
Yeah, exactly, right? And it's like, I do enjoy being surprised. But yeah, no, this one was just like, oh, wow.
Like, whoa.
Yeah.
And it goes there fast.
Yeah, really fast. And all of a sudden, it's like, oh, this is what the movie's about.
Right.
About these two kids who are sold into slavery. It very much for a while is 12 Years a Slave.
Right.
It feels like 12 Years a Slave pulls directly from this.
Yeah.
And obviously 12 Years a Slave is based on real life, but it just shows that this is like a thing that has happened and is a very
traumatic thing. Yeah.
Very, very traumatic. You have kids that end up becoming slaves for this person called Sansho the Bailiff.
Yeah.
We skip ahead a number of years, and then we find they eventually find out that their mother, who was also taken away, might still be alive, and then they decide to escape, and then the son ends up becoming a governor of a state, and then oh my god, it's so many things. But
it's such an epic story.
It's an epic. Yeah. Yes, exactly.
It goes across time and different places, and the characters change multiple times. It's so dense with stories and information and stuff. Yeah.
Obviously incredibly tragic.
Yeah, as all of these will be.
Yes. There is something. Yep, Kevin's crying. There is a number of top 250 movies have children being orphaned, children becoming adults way too fast, dealing with adult things. That is a common thing.
Yeah.
And it's such a, it is like I mentioned you earlier, it's a quick way for a cheap director to get to elicit emotion really fast. It's like
let's
put a kid in,
animals and kids.
Yeah, animals and kids, put them in danger. That'll get the audience going.
Yeah.
This never feels like that.
Right.
Because I think you mentioned
they
give them the respect they deserve.
All these movies do that, right? Is they treat them like real people, real characters who have say and have action and motive, and so you can give them more respect, you said. No, this is a great. Yeah, I have nothing more to say until we get into it. Introduce the next film, Andrei Tarkovsky's 1966 film.
I'm now realizing, yes, this is the better way to go about it. We hung on Sansho the Bailiff a little too long. That's my bad.
It's all good. You were going into it.
I was going into it. Now I'm back. We'll get through these. This is just the precursor. I see. 1966, Andrei Rublev. Andrei Tarkovsky's.
Andrei Rublev.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very meta.
Yes. Interesting thing about this film was that it came out in 1966, but the Soviet Union, because of their very anti-religious and secular government, they postponed. It didn't actually release in the Soviet Union until 1972.
71, yeah.
71.
Yeah.
So that's very interesting. I watched this, and it's interesting to feel some sort of fear
in the movie
of religion's potential. A government looking at that and being like, oh, that's kind of wild. I think in some ways to look at that movie and be like, oh, this is a danger to society. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, I don't know. What's the USSR's take on religion? Are they pretty anti?
They were a secular, a a secular country, and my understanding was that they like even practicing religion
was banned or whatever.
I don't know if it was outright banned, but it certainly wasn't.
It was frowned upon.
Yeah. Or maybe it's just like the certain like it, because I know filmmaking, I'm pretty sure, was heavily endorsed and produced by the government.
Yeah.
So they probably, because they didn't want to have religious elements in their films,
Right.
That was, I imagine, a reason. But basically, it just premiered in like Moscow or something like that, and then
it had
shut
like
down
a
for
limited
while.
release.
Yeah.
And then went to Cannes, and then it was withheld until Christmas Eve.
So very interesting. We have a film that is what's the word? Subversive.
Yeah.
Though
subversive religious film.
Yeah, very
I did find it
interesting.
very subversive,
Yeah.
though. I would say.
I mean,
it's like anti-authority.
Yeah.
You could say
Yeah.
almost. Yeah.
I mean, if proclaiming humanity is subversive, which in a lot of ways it is.
It is, yeah.
Yes.
In
That's
this world.
what I think.
In this economy.
Yeah, in this economy, proclaiming humanity. That's something I kind of see through all of these films, but this one does it in spades.
Strongly, yeah, for sure. Yeah, that makes sense. This was like one of my just to talk about the film, like in tableaus, like these different chapters.
Yes.
It almost feels like different characters, but it is mostly just like different stories.
Yeah.
Like happening along the path.
Kind of near the end, it gets really focused on another character.
Yeah,
that Bellmaker.
Right. They have like a little tangential storyline that happens.
Yeah, right? Yeah, it's very interesting, but it's so... That alone
was an
a film.
Interesting thing. Yeah.
And I loved it. And I loved what it said. And
for sure.
When you find out at the end that this kid who basically just wanted to survive,
right,
lied that he had the secret to make this bell.
Yeah.
And then you find out that he didn't know, and he was so confident, and then he's just being held in Andrei Rublev's.
Yeah. For me, it's like a metaphor of being a director.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
it's like you don't have maybe even being a parent, maybe a lot of these things where there's like no real...
like handbook.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's different every time.
But you have to proclaim that you're the expert in in order to get money, in order to get like the confidence of the team and stuff. Yeah, you're just like tricking everyone into doing this thing. And then,
that's so parent as well. It's like you have to pretend like you have it all together, even though you're just as dumb in a lot of cases.
Like you have no idea what you're doing.
No idea at all.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed. This was another like epic sized film, like kind of like come and see, traveling across a country almost, and many struggles, many traumas and stuff.
The characters come and go through these different stories, but I loved the tableau element of it. It was so good.
Yeah. And it feels very biblical.
Yes.
Like this whole thing. I mean, obviously it's about religion, but something about the imagery and the tableaus, like there's just like the chapters and like it just feels like you're reading some sort of book, And also I think we'll talk about this more, but how nature plays into it. The panning off to the river, the panning off the light
to the leaves.
on the land and stuff. Yeah.
There is something so, I mean,
it's poetic.
Tarkovsky has the sauce.
And
I know that's crazy to say.
He's the goat of goats.
Yeah.
It's not crazy. Yeah. I think he's probably up there.
Oh, I mean,
in terms of like best filmmakers
absolutely
ever.
Astounding.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Next one.
Yeah. 1998 Central Station from Walter Salles.
Brazilian and French. It's a French
co-production thing.
French director.
Based in Brazil, about a former school teacher who helps a young orphaned boy find, or maybe not orphaned, but a young boy find his father after his mother dies.
Yeah.
So kind of like a roadie movie, kind of like your After Sun, like the traumatized adult with like the helpless child.
Yeah.
It's very rife with energy and very like funny.
Yeah,
sometimes.
It's fun. Like, I was not expecting it to go there and to like, because it goes all the way into like the kid is almost being sold into like organ
slavery,
and
yeah.
to slavery and to organ harvesting.
Yeah.
But it's willing to
Be light.
be light with it and fun, and also gives this kid a lot of room to act and be powerful.
Yeah.
I mean, they got that kid. I imagine they did like eye drops to like really get some tears going.
cry.
But damn, that kid like
Was acting.
just
yeah.
like the tears were always so thick and his eyes were always so like it was
Yeah.
like, oh, they always got good crying shots of that kid.
Yeah. No, it was just really emotional.
Yeah, I was so surprised by its energy, like knowing kind of I did know beforehand what this one was about, and even like seeing pictures from it, but as soon as you go into it, it's like, wow, this is
It's a whole thing. Yeah.
so much. And man, once again, I was crying a lot.
Yeah.
There at
Towards
the end. It's so
when she
so
writes
beautiful.
the letter to him.
So beautiful. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's like, how do you and it's one of those things where it's like, how do you make a movie like that? Like that takes so like, can you imagine being in the edit room, like in the edit bay, and that's what you have that you worked on? That's a dream.
Yeah.
That is an absolute dream to have like this sort of, I don't know, it just hit, it hit everything for me.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah. It was just like capturing lost, broken characters.
Yeah.
And then overcoming hopelessness. Just there's so much we can say.
Yeah, exactly. And road movies, I'm such a road
Right.
movies have so much potential and are so interesting to me.
Yeah. In other ways, it's also kind of like an epic film.
Yeah.
And because of the ground that it covers in that.
Yeah.
In the roady sense.
Yeah.
Okay. And then lastly, there's Eureka from Shinji Aoyama, a 2000 film featuring survivors of a bus tragedy who attempt to overcome their damaged selves. And then there's like a B story of a serial killer in town that is like bubbling underneath, but all happens to be tied together like in interesting ways.
Yeah.
I feel like the thing you have to talk about with this film is like the way it's shot, like this kind of sepia toned black and white.
What an
thing.
interesting choice.
And then to go to color.
Yeah, right there at the end.
It's
I mean, obviously, so I feel like it's very clear
what it's
yeah,
saying.
It's just like the, I mean, healing. Or, you know,
like,
it's like finally, and she finally speaks.
Right.
Because so basically, there's a tragedy on the bus. Basically, the bus is hijacked.
Right.
People are killed, and the only survivors are the bus driver and two kids.
Yeah.
And it fucks all of them up.
Yeah.
So much, and eventually brings them back together.
Yeah.
As the bus driver realizes, like,
this is all I have.
Yeah. His wife leaves him. Like, there's a number of things that he can't even be at home.
Yeah.
He's just like banging his feet on like. There's that great scene of him just laying there, banging his feet on the floor. Just because, I mean, that when you are. Like I'm lucky that I haven't been in like that traumatic of a thing, but when you are depressed or when you're facing this thing, you just kind of like, it's interesting how you act, and that it is just like you're just using your motor skills. I don't know. There's something interesting about like those sorts of things where it's just kind of like just so basic and animalistic,
right?
But eventually, and then the kids lose they go mute. Yeah, they go mute, and their mom
dies.
And their dad died as well, and so they're with no one.
Yeah, they live by themselves. At home,
and so it brings them together, and also a movie that has such beautiful humor.
Yes.
In it too.
Yeah.
And
the cousin character is like
came from the big city.
The comedic relief. Yeah.
And then even like the relationship between the bus driver and his friend at the construction company. Yeah. There's some hilarious, like when he opens the door and he's in all the cleaning clothes.
Right.
And he's like checking on him to pick him up for work. And there's like these moments that it's just like so, I love it. And it was great. And then, and also just like this kind of back pressure that is like talking about the poison that this sort of traumatic event can instill in someone.
Right.
Because these murders start to happen, and this this police detective who was the one there on the scene,
right,
starts to suspect the bus driver is the one doing it.
A lot of people do, right?
Yeah,
the whole
exactly.
town, basically, and his family,
Yep.
like start calling him out and stuff.
And
I think what's really interesting, just to touch on it before we go into everything, is like, you mentioned it before, is like how, like, through all this shit that you just talked about, our main character is still the most positive and most loving and caring and tender person in the whole film. Like, always looking out for other people, like always having a good mindset. Even if people are accusing him of murder, he's still like, well, I can just do what I can do, and like moves on. It's like, it's insane how much resilience this guy has and how much positivity he just carries through his shit. It's like, it's like, that to me is almost as heartbreaking, because it takes going through the most traumatic experience to reach that level sometimes. You know what I mean? Which is like crazy, but I don't know.
Yeah.
There's something about it, I guess. I mean, maybe that's part of the human experience, is like we go through all our shit, and at the end of the day, we can only just move on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
there you go.
Let's start with Sansho the Bailiff. Yeah. I don't know. How do we talk about
I mean, let's pull the car over.
Yeah.
Let's think about Sansho.
So, I mean, like, for me, my first initial reaction is like Redbeard and Akira Kurosawa, obviously, like, more so than just being a Japanese filmmakers, though. Like, these are like extremely humanist filmmakers that are looking at that under a microscope. And there is something about this era of filmmaking that is, I don't know, tied to Japanese identity or something.
It's kind of what, like, you do have to, and I once again, I'm being very ignorant because I don't actually know this.
Right.
But just making this statement, like, post World War II, this is a very, Japan is going wild. Like, this is a very different.
That's a great point.
And the fact that Japanese cinema in this time is some of the greatest films of all time.
Ever, yeah.
And that's, there's something there.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting. And these are all people that, most of them, all of them, came out of World War II.
Yep.
And grew up in it. Some of them, I think, Akira Kurosawa was fairly old by that. Was in his maybe 40s or 50s by that point. And so I'd lived through so much, and how that plays into all of that. Like, I don't know. It's just the humanity that the Japanese films of that era can point to and express is beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's astounding.
And depressing.
The love of nature as well is always so palpable and beautiful. I think I'm very interested talking about this to see what Japanese movies were like pre-World War II.
Great.
And obviously,
point.
Like the very fascistic and fascist Japan that would eventually come in the 30s, probably even the 20s as well. It was
that shit started in like the 1890s.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they were fucked up.
Yeah.
They were really, 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 really bad.
That like Pan-Asianism is pretty much what starts World War II.
Yeah.
Or the Pacific Front. Yeah. And their imperialization and stuff.
I'd be curious how much of a break World War II and the atomic bomb and all of these things are to, like,
culture,
this new creative consciousness.
Yeah. That's a great fucking point.
Yeah. And Sansho the Bailiff is just another one of these just absolutely beautiful, willing to go there for the sake of humanity pictures.
And sorry, this is like going back to our Princess Mononoke conversation too, of the way these creators are using medieval Japan as an allegory for World War II and like the pain and trauma and conflict that they've had to experience.
Oh my God. Yes.
All of these emotions are being transposed onto this kind of aesthetic, you know? And that makes that makes a lot of sense.
Because this movie is about slaves, and it's about freeing the slaves.
Right.
It's about like freeing people from this torture.
Right.
And like so much so that he doesn't even care about, because basically
status.
He doesn't even care about the status of
Yeah.
it. He gets to become a governor just to proclaim, and then leaves.
Literally the second he does it,
he's out. Yeah, exactly. and he, by the next time we see him, I'm like, he'll probably still have like some guards traveling, because it's like, all right, I'm going to go to the island that
his mom's
that his mom's on,
and he's like stripped of the,
and he has nothing at that, like he's now back. No one would ever know, just like no one knew before,
right?
And it's another movie that just shows, like, it obviously shows the cruelty of humanity, and about just like holding on to control,
right,
and what that can do, and the poison that can create,
especially in the like slave quarters.
Yes, it's insane, and how quick people want to turn on others.
Right,
feels very 12 Years a Slave as well. We're getting it's very interesting to look at that dynamic of putting people in the worst possible positions,
right,
and it just evil can fester in that among each other, because it's just, you turn people into
animals.
just inhuman, and it's an insult to animals to even say that. Honestly,
true. Because it's like the negative consequences of like something like A Man Escaped, right? Where it's like A Man Escaped is so positive and has like,
so true. Yeah.
But this is like showing what may be more realistic, or I don't know, what's just like a more nihilistic viewpoint maybe, or I don't know, because there's I don't know, there's both good and bad in this film. I think, like,
and I'll say, just to finish the point, I think one thing that it does that I think is just another beautiful sort of humanist thing is the kind of reaching out and taking that chance and helping someone.
The old woman,
the old woman, the other governor that basically bestowed the governorship on the guy. Like it's these things, like it just, that little bit of just humanity
changes their whole life.
It changes everything. And it just, that I think is a beautiful sentiment to leave this movie with, is just like how something small, how just lifting one person up, how that reverberates endlessly.
Right.
And I see that in every one of these films that we'll talk about, is how just like that little push and what that does, like the butterfly effect of humanity.
Sure. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I like that.
Thank you.
That's a nice sentence.
It's a great movie.
It's a great movie. Yeah. Heartbreaking.
The sister kills herself in order to like save him, brother, but it doesn't even feel like, it doesn't even necessarily feel like that's why she's doing, because she had the opportunity to run away. It was different than that. It was obviously she stayed back and was willing to die. Yeah. But I think it was to avoid torture. I think she knew that she would be tortured, because she kind of mentioned like they can't torture the dead. Right. Basically, to that old woman. And just drowns herself. And there's something, it's just so, and then he's so, when he becomes governor, he's so excited to bring and it's just like, oh my God. And then, it plays with the rule of threes a little bit, when it's like the dad's dead, finds out the sister's dead, and is now going to go visit the mom, who he's almost assured she's dead as well. Yeah. And they turn that on its head. She's there, but blind. Yeah. Doesn't believe him. And you just get, you get, what a roller coaster of emotion. Of emotion. Just like you think that he's just going there to pay his respects, and as an audience member, I'm ready for the movie to end, because I feel like this character has fulfilled and gone their duty. It all, But then you have that moment, and you're like, oh, this is it, and then it pulls it away from us, and then it pulls it back in, and we actually do, we get that.
Yeah. It does a great job of balancing like beauty and heartbreak.
Yeah.
Within the same scene, but even just like as a movie, it's like giving you all these different emotions, and you're just like overwhelmed and washed over. Yeah. Yeah, that ending scene when she doesn't initially recognize him, it's like, oh man, it just felt like the world falls out.
Yeah.
From you,
And you could just tell like this dude acted his heart out.
Yeah.
Like in this film, like his wide-eyed look, he used it a lot, but yeah, that is just like, it was so, and this was a movie where I was like, so surprised they didn't do a lot of close-ups. There were so many, like, that almost feels like that's when you bring in the cameras to really like show these emotions. And it was always like a 2-shot. Like it was always long takes.
Right.
And just kind of letting the scene play out, which I always appreciate that too. Like letting the actors just do their thing without getting in the middle of it.
I mean,
and not force, and maybe it's less like forcing what emotion you're supposed to feel right now.
Right. Because I feel like within this film, the structure of it, there were not that many cuts.
Yeah.
And everything was very constructed. And I would almost say that, I mean, in this era of Japanese filmmaking, a lot of these things were like derivative of Japanese theater. Like acting style and stories and everything.
Oh, interesting. That makes sense.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of that in terms of like his facial stuff and whatever.
Yeah.
I forgot what did you just say?
I mean, I was just saying how, oh my God, sorry. I was just saying how the long takes.
Oh, long takes.
A lot less cuts.
Yeah. So also in the terms of shooting it, like long takes allows the actors to like do their thing, like you were saying.
Yeah.
And that I feel like that is derivative of theater as well. But
totally,
there is just something about the way this movie is shot that is like, it just feels very like perfect in the sense of like the way Kurosawa movies are like perfect, or perfected or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah, like I mentioned, Ari Aster's favorite movie, or says it's his favorite movie.
Yeah.
And you can I think you can point to the cinematography as like a reason why.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's so, I hate to say plain, but it just like it lets a lot of the other elements take over.
Yeah.
And we don't really get too much into it. And there's something really beautiful about that.
Yeah. I mean, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was very poetic. Yeah. Sad.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about Andrei Rublev, or is there anything more you want to say? Yeah.
Yeah, we can go to Andrei Rublev.
Yeah, and we'll
just taking a moment of silence.
Yeah, exactly. Like, don't mind our silence, folks.
Yeah, that was a tough one.
It's just, it also, like, this more than most it's hard to even come up with words. And I mean in terms of like this episode more than most, because all 4 of these were so good. But it's hard to come up with words on like how these movies hit you and what it is, because it just feels so, I mean, it's just, I guess that's what makes movies so great, folks.
Yeah.
Is like the fact that these can do this to us is wild.
Well, you said it soldered, and I think that's how I feel.
Yeah.
I feel soldered.
Yeah.
Like healing from pain and then tired and like recovering.
Yeah.
And then like, that's like my mood when I watch
it feels
these
like
movies.
Yeah, it feels like these movies open you up for so long, and then like right at the end
they stitch you back up,
but you're still left
hurting
after the movie, like recovering.
And
that I think, and that's the beauty of these things, is when things aren't just like completely laid out, especially on an emotional level.
Right.
To just like, you take this into your world now.
Right.
Feel it.
This is yours.
Yeah.
Transplant.
Think about it. Yeah, exactly.
Transplant.
Interesting.
Yeah. Inception.
Yeah. All right. Andrei Rublev.
Yeah.
very. I mean, I've only seen Solaris. That's the only other Tarkovsky I've seen. You've seen Stalker.
I've seen Stalker.
Have you seen Mirror?
Nostalgia. Ivan's Childhood, and one of his couple of his short films.
Yeah, or at least a good amount.
I've seen about half.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's nice that his filmography isn't like it's tight.
Yeah,
it's real tight.
But I think it's a filmography that deserves time.
Yeah.
In that, you should probably only watch one a month.
Yeah.
Or else your
binge.
brain will die.
Yeah. They're so big, and that's how I felt in Solaris. Was just whoa,
asking the real questions.
Yeah,
and not even human questions.
Yeah,
these are existence questions, spirituality shit. Yeah.
Did you with Andrei Rublev? Was there a tableau that spoke to you the most?
I think the Bell one, because I just related to how he was feeling as a person, trying to trick everyone into doing this thing, and then so being falsely confident in his skills or his knowledge, and then at the end it works, and then he just falls down and cries and falls asleep. That just feels like my whole life.
Yeah. And what's crazy about I believed him the whole time.
I did too.
Yeah. I was
partly because of that.
Yeah.
Of he's just, when he says, "Oh, my father gave me this thing," at that moment, it was 50-50 for me of it could be.
Yeah, I was
he could know,
but then the way he
know.
acted from then on was he definitely knows.
Right.
He's so confident in this.
Picking the clay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Everything about
doesn't that knowing that he didn't know colors it so much, the clay?
Right. He's just looking
because he just starts bawling when he finds the clay, and now it just colors it so much more not even we know that feeling of you don't want to pull the trigger on something because you don't feel like you're ready.
Right.
Then it becomes real when you find the clay.
Right.
Then it becomes real when you got to fire it up. He didn't want them to fire it up until he gave the say-so, but they started firing up the thing while he's asleep. And so...
And then the whole structure, it's going to break if we don't fortify it.
Yeah.
And then we have to do it now.
Yeah. And then if it doesn't ring, if the bell does not ring...
He's dead.
He's dead. And the king or whatever, the ruler is there, and...
Yeah, they're all watching.
Yeah, it was... That scene... The anticipation in that scene of that one guy grabbing the bell
back
and swinging.
And forth. Oh,
I mean, that might be one of the greatest cinematic scenes ever. I would it is crazy.
The
how great it
anticipation,
is.
Yeah.
And that whole set. I mean, just that alone, that tableau alone, is amazing. I mean, it has everything in it. And then Andrei Rublev shows up in little tiny bits. That the jester from the beginning of the movie tries to kill him.
Come back in the end,
which is very interesting. And then
I didn't get that.
Yeah, I didn't necessarily get that either. But
he didn't
feel like he was the reason that
he got arrested. Yeah, because
the jester felt that way.
Yeah,
but
it just seemed like he got arrested randomly.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but maybe thought it was his fault, and because Andrei Rublev couldn't speak, he couldn't defend himself. And that's kind of the cost. It made me think like a religious person, this film, in a lot of ways. And I like how you can attribute everything to God.
Yeah.
Especially when you're thinking in that mindset of this is God punishing me and he knows I can't speak. So this is my test.
Yeah.
Is to not do this and to continue not speaking.
Right.
And then for him to break that at the moment at the end when the kid falls into his arms also just makes it very powerful.
Yeah.
But yeah, that bell scene, I was
that shit was
mouth
crazy.
agape.
Yeah.
It was wild.
Yeah.
I think for me, I loved the tableau with the pagans.
Yeah, that was a good one too. Yeah.
I thought the imagery was wild. Seeing the naked people running through the forest and all of these, and just the voyeurism that he was experiencing, like seeing like
the
this
woman through the bush. That one shot was like incredible. Yeah,
and it was just, there was so much beauty and so many interesting things to it, and would end up really coloring the violence that was to come.
For sure.
Even though the beginning, like with the jester, really did set the tone for that. But there was something about just that, like that dark imagery and the kind of just sexual undertones.
Yeah.
I found to be very interesting, and I liked it a lot.
Yeah, that was a great one. Yeah, I'm having trouble remembering like all them.
I know.
Tableaus.
Yeah. There's when they get raided. There's that big one. I think it's literally called the raid. when all those people are being killed, and then they go into the church and kill all those people, and the only people that survive are Andrei Rublev and the girl, and that's when he takes his vow of silence because he killed the guy that was going to try to rape the girl.
Oh, I see.
And then you have.
Dang, you're very good at this.
I just watched it the other day.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
I just don't remember plot that well.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes us good. That's what I think about a lot is that
is looking at the story and how
I don't think about editing as much as you, unless it like really hits me in the face.
Right. Yeah, I'm looking at style, because what really hit me was like whenever he points the camera at non-human subjects is when it's the most interesting to me.
Yeah,
because it's like, it just feels like it's like forcing perspective and like looking for the poeticism of life and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking back at the Wikipedia page.
Yeah. I mean, the imagery of rivers is very interesting, and like the spilled milk in the river. Like there's a bunch of times like silt in the river. There's a bunch of times when you have
water.
Yeah, it's just like it's
the
so
rain.
Interesting. Yeah.
When they're walking through the thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The snow falling in the church.
Right.
And talking about how it's bad luck. There was like the way nature played into it. And I think there's something when you have a movie that takes place in this is the 1600s or something like that.
14.
Nature, I think, just was more of a thing.
Well, pagans were like nature-based religion, basically.
And so you have a lot of, I can only speak from two things, but Solaris also plays with like liquids a bit as kind of like a way to show imagery, and is kind of integral to the plot in a way. And I think that you get this as well. There's just something about like water and rivers, and
he does it a lot in a lot of his other movies, like either water falling down into water, or like walking across water, or like there's or water like fluidity in the ground. Like there's always interesting.
Yeah, are you talking about that stalker?
Yeah.
I know what image that is.
Right. Yeah. It's so iconic. Like it's hitting. He plays with nature a lot in terms of like imagery and symbology and stuff. And that's what I mean by like him being super poetic, and like, and he's like saying something without like the kind of explicit meaning, like it isn't just meant to be beautiful for the sake of being beautiful sometimes. Coming back to me now, this film or different sections of this film felt like art as an act of faith. Like these painters working for the church, and like that's kind of their source of income. Felt very filmmaker-y, like we're almost attached to artists are like leeches on high society, because that's the only people who can pay for their shit. So we're almost at the whims of like these terrible people who control society and stuff. Anyway, sorry.
No. Andrei Rublev also deciding like, I'm not going to paint
right.
the Last Supper or maybe it was the Last Judgment or whatever it is. It was something he felt it was too dark of a thing to do. And that feels like one of those things too. It's like, well, they're going to pay us. Like, won't you just make this movie? Like,
like someone's going to do it anyways.
Someone's going to do it anyways. Like, take it, get the check. What are you doing? And it feels like that is something we deal with always.
Yeah.
You know, this might be crazy to say, but I really think that most of us would not like to work 9 to 5s and doing a bunch of crap for no reason.
Yeah.
Like just like that has no real purpose and no benefit to humanity.
Yeah.
And that we all are a part of this kind of like narrative and performance art of just like not willing to acknowledge that we actually don't want to do this and to actually put our morals first.
Yeah.
And so that was a really powerful moment to be like, to say that and to face the consequences, and things end up working out for him. But I mean, sort of like he does find more work or whatever.
Right. He does other stuff.
Yeah. But that's just an interesting thing. And you have to imagine that Tarkovsky had a reason to put all the, like, there's so many interesting things. I mentioned that, like, this is a movie Red S is about.
Right.
Like, there's just so much depth to it.
Yeah.
I can't possibly even comprehend at the moment.
Yeah.
After one view.
There was also, like, stuff, like, to me, kind of indicating how the mechanisms of religion lead into capitalism. Especially with, like, paying artists for works of stuff, and how, like, for example, in the Bell Makers one, like how the need to beautify this church creates jobs for like all these people, you know, and without like the need to make this bell, like none of these people would be doing these things.
Yeah.
And like how the church, not religion, how the church is basically creating industry for a lot of these things. And that leads into what we know as capitalism today. You know, of these like giant sort of feudal lords who pay for, you know, corporate videos and like all these things. Yeah.
It makes me feel good that I get to do that. I love that. I'm pulling that bell up.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of like a worker in this whole thing. And it's just kind of like,
that's just how our life is kind of. Yeah. And I always feel like Tarkovsky is scratching at that like bigger existence sort of questions and stuff like that. This one was pretty great.
Banger.
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah.
Central?
Yeah.
Central Station was wonderful, fun, heartbreaking, with an ending that will tear your heart out. And it just such an amazing adult as a child sort of narrative that you get. Yeah.
She's fucked up.
Yeah.
In the beginning.
It was so interesting. It's always interesting to kind of be dropped into these worlds that I have no idea about. And
Brazil, you're saying.
Yeah, Brazil, and just like what it means, like to work in a society where reading comprehension is non-existent, and writing, and she is doing it for others,
right?
And how, and then to take that, which was already like, oh, that's interesting. I guess that makes sense, you know, as a job, but then to not send the letters that she doesn't feel like deserve to be sent or whatever, right. And like
how dictating gossipy. All that,
yeah, exactly, like wild, just absolutely insane. And you're just like wow, no this morals. Lady's crazy. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And she's not portrayed as evil in any way, because she does actually have like a really good heart.
Yeah. There is
absolutely.
care in
it.
There
absolutely is, and it's hard for her to admit.
Right.
And she just keeps like hitting that wall of like really willing to like let this child that she takes in,
right,
like real, like just accept it. Because the kid's difficult, and it ends up feeding off each other.
Yeah. There's a lot of like walls being built and torn down.
Yes,
I would say.
Yeah.
Dude, fucking hilarious. This woman was nominated for Best Actress.
I saw. Yeah.
And lost to Gwyneth Paltrow.
Oh my God! For Shakespeare in Love.
Yeah. How do you feel about that?
Wow. I mean, obviously, I don't necessarily agree with everything the Academy does.
Yeah, it is just great character work here. I think if you're gonna point to something, it's like these two really stubborn characters who have pretty strong sets of views on life and like their positions and stuff, always in conflict with each other, you know. Like, I think what got me most riled up was fucking when she's trying to steal him back from the people
traffickers.
That are
going, this happens pretty early on too.
This is like for the first 20 minutes of the movie, and he's like, no, fuck you, like you're a terrible person, like, and she's trying to save him, but it's just like the greatest combination
it's
of
so
like,
good, and also the fact that she is not giving in to him either, and you needed that for the story to continue, obviously,
for sure.
But it's so good too that she is just dragging him out, and he's right. Like, why go with she's already sold him out, and now is back. Right. Yeah, but oh
like,
my God,
go fuck yourself, dude. Yeah,
exactly. Like,
but also, I mean, they're both right in the same moment. Yeah. But also the danger of it. There's just like all these compiling factors. Yeah. It's like that was a great scene.
Yeah. And it was good. I love when movies like they let good. I mean, I guess they let good things happen, and they don't like have to pepper it in with like, because this movie could have had them being hunted by those people and all of that, and that's what I think a cheaper movie would have done.
Sure,
you didn't need that. It's just like I say this about Boyhood, Richard Linklater's film. Like, that movie has so many moments where it's like, oh, something bad is going to happen to those kids. Something bad's going to happen. Like, they're throwing razor blades. Like, I know how movies work.
Sure.
But nothing happens because you don't need, that's not the point of it. That's just like an aspect of it. And yes, danger can happen, but we don't have to make everything, that it doesn't have to be the pressure that the movie didn't need that to keep the story going.
Right.
And they don't need to be hunted as well as losing all their money and all of these things.
Like, that's enough.
That's enough. We have enough.
The human experience is enough.
Yes, exactly. But I think a cheaper movie would have just been like, all right, let's get, like, that adds espionage, that adds all of these things. Like, we can have some guns in it,
right?
You know, like,
some action.
Yeah, exactly. Like
some car chases. Scenes. Yeah,
exactly. We know how to make a movie.
Yeah. I know how to make a Mission Impossible movie.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. So it's nice that the movie let them escape from that.
Yeah.
And they even like had insults to throw and like, we're gonna kill you or whatever, but still. That they're no longer part of the movie anymore.
Right.
And that's wonderful. That story is ended, and then we kind of get to the road movie aspect of it where it's just small little sections in different places.
Right. Because the real conflict is like him and his father, and like...
Yeah.
And even her and her father, you know, like her own like personal connection. Because you could almost say that's like to be psychological or whatever. But you could say that's why she has a difficulty connecting with him.
Yeah.
You know, it's because she had a hard time connecting with her parents.
She doesn't know what a good parent looks like.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It had a lot to do with like it pushing and pulling.
Right.
And I think that's where a lot of people that don't look inward, that's how relationships are, is because you start acting very reactive.
Sure.
And you push people away, but then you realize like, oh, I don't like this feeling.
Yeah.
And so you come back, and then you're reactive again in the heat of the moment, and they're gone, and then it's back, and it was a lot of that, and it takes a lot to
get over
unwind.
It. Yeah,
it's taken me a lot of therapy to unwind that, because just reactivity is so easy.
It's the easy thing to do.
Oh yeah, I mean that's just the most basic form. That's what babies do.
Right.
You know.
Right.
So we have that within us.
Right.
And to think like this woman, she's much older by this point.
Right.
And to still be so
wound up.
So wound up. Yeah, it's going to take some serious work to do it. And this was the perfect kid to do it, because this kid was not giving up.
Yeah, either. Well, I don't know, because it, like, not, I will, fuck.
Yeah.
Because what I enjoyed about her character is, like, how many times she tries to give him up, how many times she tries to get rid of him, and then, like, life keeps throwing him back into her, and then, but every single time she takes the responsibility to step back up and take care of him. And that, I don't know, like, as going back to unwinding, like, I guess that's what you're talking about. Just so beautiful to see that learning process happen in real time, I guess.
You can't stop the humanity.
Yeah.
Like, what, like, because there's something so beautiful and addictive about helping others.
Yeah.
That it's hard to get there. It's hard to be vulnerable. But as soon as you are, that's the place to be. That's the pocket.
Yeah.
That's where it feels good. That's where you, like, and these movies. Yeah, that's the pocket. We're in the pocket here. That's a lot of these movies have that element of just like opening up, going against your base instincts, and allowing others to share in your soul.
Yeah.
To feed off of you.
Right.
And then you end up realizing, like, you're also feeding off of them. And, like, that was the thing. Like, I think she thought she was being a parent to the kid.
She thought he was slowing her down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden realizes
he's helping her.
Yeah. And I think just, like, that scene, oh my God, it makes me want to tear. Like, when it becomes very Paper Moon, and he is, like, helping her make some money,
right?
And is like, and you find out, like, this is a pair, and then it tells her about the dress and the lipstick and all of these things, and it becomes this beautiful, like, letting her love herself, showing the beauty of it, and it's just, it's so
great.
good.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah,
the beauty of loving yourself.
Yeah.
Wow.
That movie was so good.
Paper Moon is great.
And Paper Moon is,
That's a great comparison.
Yeah. And obviously I love Paper Moon as well.
Yeah. Because even in the dialogue, the way they, like, spit and spat back to each other, it's, like, really quippy. And, yeah.
But I think what was, like...
And they steal money from people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There's that aspect of it. There's just a little bit of, like, we're not really, like, the folks... we're kind of on the outskirts. We're the other.
Right.
And I think that Paper Moon sticks the kid and the adult together at the end.
Yeah.
And this doesn't.
Yeah.
And there's something...
heartbreaking.
Yeah. And in some ways I like this version so much more, in a way.
Sure.
I mean, it works for these characters. I think in Paper Moon it works for those characters. But there's something about just, like... when that kid's running to go catch her, and she... has given everything that she can, in a way, and knows where her limits are.
Sure, yeah.
I don't know, there's just something so beautiful about it.
Yeah.
And not, I guess, I mean, it was like a button, but I don't know, it's just interesting.
Yeah. It definitely has harder payoff, right? Because, like, that scene when she's writing the letter, that shit broke me.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was crying so hard. Yeah. It was crazy.
Because it just feels like, sending your child off, sort of a thing. Yeah, it's like, yeah.
We'll talk about the last one.
Yeah.
You want to open us up?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really know. I mean, I really connected with the bus driver character.
Well, Eureka is the film.
Sorry.
No, it's all good. We're jamming. I'm
in it.
The bus driver was portrayed by what's
Koji Yakusho.
Yes, who was in the most recent Perfect Days and was also in the movie Cure, that came out a little bit before this.
Babel, Tampopo.
Yes.
Yeah.
a great actor. So good.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Doesn't even need to say anything.
Yeah.
And I would say this does what Perfect Days wants to do, but like better.
Yeah. Can you want to elaborate on that at all? Do you want the audience to
Sure,
read that?
yeah.
I haven't seen Perfect Days, so I can't say.
Okay,
I do
yeah.
want to watch it.
I mean, even like this has Paris, Texas vibes, I think, too. Just like, I think Wim Wenders makes films about like traumatized men and their like yearning and search to like heal and recover from that. You definitely see that in Paris, Texas, but I think in Perfect Days, obviously the same actor, like definitely doing the same thing, like no dialogue, not that much dialogue, things happening under the surface, and then all the conflict is in the past, I think. And then like reconnecting with kids and stuff like that. But for me, I don't know, Eureka just feels more honest to like the experience of trauma or just like how it feels to deal with this sort of things. Like, I can't really specify now, but just like certain imagery and like certain character like actions or like routines just felt like felt of someone going through it.
Yeah.
Especially when like talking to family members and stuff and feeling like the feeling of being othered.
Yeah.
You know, I think is a huge part of trauma because basically other people it's hard to relate to other people or take advice from other people because no one really understands like what you're going through or how you're feeling or like it, and it's hard to even put into words.
That's interesting. I think that's a really
feeling, you know.
Yeah, I think that's a really great way to put it. That because I think all the way up to the point where they're on the bus and the kid one of the kids ends up having has taken this trauma and is killing people.
Yeah.
And that's an insane thing, but and ask like the most insane question like why can't I kill?
Right.
And it's just like I mean it's so deep and like it makes you I mean it's interesting just how it like plays off of all of these things and because you're like, yeah, why can't this, like, why not?
Right.
But, I mean, then you start to put yourself in the place. But, obviously takes the kid to the police station, and the kid's gone.
Yeah.
That's the end of the kid in the movie.
Right.
And the cousin is basically like, oh, it's
better.
It's probably better for him.
Yeah.
And I agreed with him. Like, as I was hearing it, I'm like, because I was like, man, that's so fucked up. But, you know, like, what are you going to do at a certain point? And then, like, as I'm also with this cousin, like, saying that, the bus stops, he pushes the kid out, and then punches him
in the face.
And then says, like that's, fuck you. That's not what, he does not deserve that.
Yeah.
And that's not, you know, and I'll be here when you figure out.
When you figure that out.
Yeah, when you figure that out. And I was just
like I still love you.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But I just punched you in the face.
Yeah. And it felt like one of those things where you don't know trauma unless you're in it.
Yeah.
And you don't know what it, like, the depth of it. And and this trio of characters knew.
Yeah.
And
that's like the unspoken thing they can all relate to and stuff. Yeah.
Literally unspoken.
Yeah.
And there's just something so beautiful about what it takes to pull yourself out of this trauma hole. And how every character does it differently.
Right.
It's also very tragic that the bus driver's literally dying.
Right.
Maybe from lung cancer or some sort of thing of that nature as the movie is progressing. All the way up until the very end where literally coughing up blood.
Yeah.
Just as the girl is speaking again.
Right.
And has like put her trauma into these shells that she found on the beach and throws it's such a beautiful
image
moment. And I thought the scene on the beach was, I mean, that's when I started to cry.
Yeah.
When he finally took her to the ocean and just watched her, and then she like collapsed. Right. And I don't know how much the movie really played up because I know she collapsed earlier in the film, but I thought watching it that the brother had hit her or something like that, because we had just seen him take the golf club and break the graves or whatever that they built outside with the things. And so they found her on the stairs, and I thought that he had hit her. So when that ending thing happened, when he like ran over to her after she collapsed, and you kind of think for a second like, oh my God, is she okay? But she comes up and she obviously, maybe it's from this trauma or whatever, has like some sort of
reaction.
Maybe it's narcolepsy. Maybe it's just like your body just shuts down.
Right.
That's how it handles it. And there was something also kind of beautiful about that, at least for me, with how I understood it, of it kind of took some of the blame I was holding against the brother and it got rid of it. And it was kind of like a little bit of a healing for me, because I thought he was also to blame for something else.
Sure.
And then part of me thinks the bus driver thought that as well.
Right.
And there was this moment of like, oh my God, like,
it's okay.
This just happened. And she just kind of goes back to, it was just such an interesting moment.
Right.
And this movie's full of those, because it's 3 hours and 40 minutes long.
Yeah.
It's full of moments like this, and it takes its time.
Yeah, because I would say the movie just happens. Like, you know, it's not constructed to tell you anything. Yeah. It's not like moving in any one direction. Obviously, it goes somewhere. But I don't think you ever feel like, oh, I just was tricked into believing something. Like, it all, like the one thing for me was when he takes him to the police station. Like, absolutely zero consequences from that, happening. It just like that, this is what goes on, and then the next thing, the movie just keeps going. And that's literally life. Like shit just occurs and you get wrapped up in it, and then you just have to keep going and moving on and stuff. This movie is like, because it's so long, it gives like room and space for the story to just live, like the characters to just be, and like this movie was like my favorite.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It's like, I love the color and the characters, and
I'll point to one more scene that also really impacted me, which was the bus driving scene, where and I was sitting in my chair and I was like, no, as I like everyone's either gone or asleep, and no one's in the bus except for the
girl,
the boy. The girl and the cousin have walked away, and the bus driver's asleep. And so the boy is sitting in the bus and looks over at the steering wheel and sees the keys are still in the ignition.
Oh yeah.
And decides, and so I'm thinking like, oh my God, he's going to drive away with the bus, or he's going to do something, and something terrible is going to happen.
Right.
He gets into the seat,
just pretends to drive,
and kind of pretends to drive. Who knows if he was like still going to do it? But before we even like time is taken to get to that point, the bus driver is there and is now teaching him how to drive, with no words.
Right.
And there's just something that was just so meeting him where he's at.
Right.
Is such a beautiful thing.
Parental thing.
Yeah. I think that's the best way to parent, is just to be
with them.
Yeah. Be with them.
Meeting them where they're at.
Speed.
That's great.
Meet them where they're at. Yeah. And that just felt like a really astounding, amazing moment.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
Great.
And it even had like a little bit of a, and the comedy in it is so, it's not really played too much, but just like driving and the clothesline just falls and drags on the ground.
Yeah.
The kid just walks away, and goes back to reading their manga.
Yeah.
And he's like kind of like dealing with the fact. Just kind of, it's interesting, but yeah, it just takes the time to let these things play out and feels real.
Yeah.
In the best way.
I loved it. Yeah. Cause, it did remind me of Law of Diaz, the guy who has like long ass movies.
Yeah.
Just the way the scenes play out, like in these big wides, and then they literally walk across the hill. It's like they're just gonna do that whole thing in the 5 minutes.
Right on.
Yeah, it's kind of great. I just love films that can just to have that permission.
It's funny, in college, in screenwriting class, there was so much like pushing away from people doing that.
Yeah.
Of like, why are you going to show the character getting coffee.
Right.
Or like walking to the coffee shop or any of these things. And I think I understand what they were doing in school, which was to like show like there's something really great about condensing and like starting in the middle in a way, like getting to the point a little faster. Because a lot of times kids are writing, cut the fat.
Yeah.
And I think maybe you can't get here until like I hate to say that. I hate to say you have to become a master to become a.
I think that's accurate.
Yeah, but you know what I mean, right?
I know what
like
you mean,
it's just like how some of the greatest painters had the ability to become impressionists,
right.
To kind of change the form.
Well, they always say you have to know the rules in order to break them.
Exactly, and so like it feels like one of those things where you at a certain point you can open up, and it has purpose and meaning.
Right.
And this movie was full of it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like, there's no way you make a movie like this on your first try. Like,
no.
Like you have to kind of know what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Makes me want to look at his other movies. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
He's just great. So yeah, what's your?
So we have 4 beautiful movies. I'm just going to be repeating some of the things that I've already said, but the reaching in, the exposing of yourself and humanity, and I guess just even just like the lifting up that does too, is just I feel like a takeaway from all of these films. There's just a coming together and embrace that. I think the top 250 movies do this, but these ones do it as well. Like there's something it feels like all of these you could have become a loner. Mm. Like these characters could have been loners. They could have I
think they are loners.
Yeah, but it's
loners connecting.
Yeah. It is their they evolve. They get to their next level.
Right.
Through connecting with others, but the world maybe is what throws them
to the side. Yeah.
What about you? What did you?
I think the word tenderness.
Yeah.
Was a great summary for all these. Yeah. I definitely noticed the kids thing mostly in all these.
Yeah.
Religion was mentioned or prominent in all of these.
Yeah.
Death again was prominent in all these. Yeah, everything you said. I thought also life as an epic experience, just putting normal life experience into an epic movie.
Yeah.
I think that's what these I don't know. There's just you don't feel the size of movies anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a blanket statement, but nowadays extras are just fake. You know? They're just things in the background. Even exteriors are composed now with CG stuff.
Exactly, yeah.
All of these movies, what is in the camera is what they shot.
Yeah.
In terms of people, in terms of location, it's I don't know. I just feel there's something grand about living this life that these films all kind of express.
Yeah.
In really heartbreaking but beautiful ways,
Yeah.
There's so much in humanity. Humanity itself is the good and the bad,
Mm-hmm.
and just finding all of these things and mixing it together is it's so interesting. It's a good salad, or a burrito. You want more flavors. You want more things involved to make this whole thing worth it,
Like a lasagna.
Yeah. It's I'm an onion.
It's a pasta base. I'm an onion. Onions have layers.
Yeah. Yeah.
So true, though. Yeah.
Because, I have my top 250 list from Central Station Review.
Oh yeah.
Like abandoned children and shitty parents, and then personal trauma, spirituality / religion, death and grievance, national identity, I think is a big one. Found family, this idea of like going against all odds, like this big adventure thing, humanism or finding humanity, life as an epic experience, and then hope versus cynicism, I feel like is a big thematic or just like story conflict. You know, there's always like someone who hates life versus someone who's like so fulfilling of it.
Yeah.
And how these two mindsets kind of go at each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should be a good bingo sheet.
Yeah.
The next time we watch them to see.
Yeah. How many checks do you get off?
What's its score? What's its
the
as we're
250
compiling, as we're honing and refining this list of what makes a good movie.
Right.
What makes a movie a religious experience?
Right.
Might even be a better way to do it.
Sure.
I'm not religious, but the way these movies make me feels
like a religion.
Yeah, it
or what religion is supposed to make you feel. Yeah.
Like it's so beautiful, and I mean the fact that I can tap into these deep feelings and cry and feel so much.
Yeah.
And to feel the breadth of humanity.
Yeah.
Is insane.
Right.
And so, it's
a privilege.
I mean, it is. It definitely is.
Yeah.
Like we do live in like it's. I hate saying this, but we do live in like the best time for being able to expose ourselves to all of these things.
Right.
Thank God we have the ability to find Central Station or.
Where did you find it?
I found Central Station archive.org.
You did?
I did, actually.
Wow, I'm impressed.
Yeah.
I couldn't find it on there.
Yeah.
I had to go on this really weird, I think it was like a Russian site.
Yeah. Yeah, I found it on there, and luckily they also had subtitles separate to it, because I was finding subtitles elsewhere and it wasn't matching, and I was like, oh no, I can't do this.
Yeah, the subtitles on mine, they like... So it must have been a typo or something, because the B's and the N's were swapped. Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah.
And then Eureka I actually found in another place.
Yeah, Eureka I found on some website, like through Reddit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, there was like I
emailed you a link too.
You did. I ended up finding a higher quality version than that.
Well, yeah.
Because obviously I had to find the best one. I had to find
How do you find
the 4K.
You're probably searching for that. Yeah.
I didn't search. I just found like I don't stop searching until I find
a good quality
version.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
But it's just like that like can really make a movie for me is like it
really?
like it in really high fidelity. Yeah.
It's funny.
It's just the way it is for me. It's just the way it is.
So yeah, Central Station was like piss quality.
Oh, mine was fucking beautiful.
Oh man,
it was crazy.
Should watch it on that.
Yeah,
because there's some images where I'm like, oh, I wish I could see everything.
Yeah, especially them running through the
streets or whatever.
And what's great about having it downloaded, because I downloaded it, is that it doesn't.
Never buffers.
It never buffers.
Yeah, I know.
And so you don't lose quality when so many things are happening on screen.
Right.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's what I hate streaming.
Yeah.
Because like
I hate streaming so much.
Yeah. That's why I love In and Out Archive, because I can just download the thing and I just have it.
Yeah.
If I like the movie too.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I want to watch. I have Shortcuts and I have Nashville.
Yep. I've got. You probably have a really high quality Shortcuts. I have a really high quality Shortcuts.
Yeah. It's like 4K, I think.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's
I'm just
really
like,
good. So I'm definitely putting that back on.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait to watch Shortcuts again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's on
so
my mind
a
lot. Yeah.
It's so good.
And I've seen so many movies since then that have tried to do that, and it's not even close. It's not even close.
Oh. Movies.
Yeah, movies have it all. It's like really.
Yeah.
This is a special thing.
It really is.
Yeah. So I feel like we're hitting a point where like we're just watching great movies.
I know.
We're not even discovering anything anymore. It's just like, wow,
Yeah.
Like, lay it on me, you know?
And I think another descriptor, like, it feels like wading into the pool.
Yeah.
And just
floating.
Like, we're in the salt pool, and we are just floating there, just letting it wash over us.
Yeah. Team Rocket's floating away.
Blasting off again.
No, in Pokemon 4, they're in the water.
Oh, and they're that's what they say when they're in that one. Oh, that's cute.
Because they've been healed.
Oh my god, that's so funny. But they got to keep being villains ever like.
It's really funny how the Pokemon movies treat Team Rocket.
They do a lot better job, I'd imagine. Like, in terms of, like, they give them some, like, they don't let them heal at all, or
they're like tertiary characters.
Oh, I see. Kind of like B story comedic relief,
like C story comedic relief.
Oh yeah.
Like, they're barely in the movies, and then at a certain point, it gets meta, and they're like, maybe in the next movie we'll have more of a part.
Wow, that's fun.
And then towards the later movies, they become more like involved in the
Yeah.
thing, and then Team Rocket is like more prominent and stuff. Yeah. Anyways, that's another episode.
That is another episode.
Because
Yes, but we are going to get to the Pokemon movies.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I watched them all. I have them all downloaded.
Yeah. I like that. Okay.
Yeah. Until next time, folks.
Yeah. Can't wait to see you on the next one.
Keep crying.
Keep crying. Keep breathing.
Keep breathing. Keep watching those movies.
Don't stop.
Don't stop.
Believe it.
Okay, bye.
Wind Reel and Print is a podcast by Salad Brain Productions. You can find us online on Instagram at Wind Reel and Print Pod. You can also find us wherever you get your podcasts. And please, if you like the show, leave a rating and review. We'll see you next time.